Richard Green. BBC
Radio Devon.
So, Geoff Barker's here each and every week after 8 o'clock, but it's brand new Geoff Barker from now on. It's Geoff Barker and his rock and roll Roots and Shoots. Good evening, Geoff. Do you want to explain a little bit about Roots and Shoots?
Yeah, hi, Richard. Yeah, I thought, well, we've been doing this since last March. I thought time for a little, just a slight revamp. Basically, we could still always be firmly based in rock and roll, but I'll be, as the weeks go by, looking at where the music went into all sorts of other things related to it in terms of country and rockabilly and blues and R&B, and right up to date. In fact, tonight being a case in point, I've got a brand new CD from a brand new band from America coming in about 10 minutes' time. So, yeah, it's firmly rooted in rock and roll, but the Roots and Shoots are where it has gone since it first burst upon the scene all those years ago.
OK, so we look forward to having a bit of a chat between us about music and all things that we love. But, Geoff, What have you got up first?
Oh, right. I thought you were going to ask me about your quiz. I'm just going to say, I'll tell you now. I know one definitely and the other one no. First up, it's one of the great women of rhythm and blues, R&B, rock and roll, Etta James. Miss Etta James, as Chuck Berry introduced her many, many times when they worked together. She was born this week in 1939. Bit of a child prodigy, really. Started recording for labels on the west coast of America when she was about 13, 14 years old. This track was definitely the roots of where we came from 1955. A great, great song. This is called Good Rockin' Daddy.
Daddy, yes, you're a good rockin' daddy. Come on now, up on your feet. You can't be beat. You're a good rockin' daddy. I told the girls all to come and see just what the Sandman brought to me. They stood around with a great big smile, and when you did the crazy twist, they all went wild. You're a good rockin' daddy. Yes, you're a good rockin' daddy. Come on now, up on your feet. You can't be beat. You're a good rockin' daddy. You can't be beat. You're a good rockin' daddy. Good rockin' daddy. Good rockin' daddy. Good rockin' daddy.
The wonderful Etta James, born this week, 1939. Her biggest hit in the UK was the Willie Dixon Muddy Waters song, I Just Want to Make Love to You, which, of course, with the aid of a TV commercial that used it as the music in 1996, gave her a massive top 3 hit, although it was recorded in 1960. The great Etta James. Going to mention her again in a couple of tunes' time. Another brand new release now. This is just it's not brand new tracks, but it's a brand new CD out on Jasmine Records. Simple title, Ricky Nelson, All the Hits 1957 to 1962. And you could pick any one of them. They're all on there, the A's and the B's, 34 tracks. And this one for me is simply stunning. It's got a great, great guitar solo from James Burton, who later left Ricky and went on to play for Elvis, of course. But here's young Ricky and a storming version of Milk Cow Blues.
Well, I've tried everything to get along with you. Now I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna quit my crying. I'm gonna leave you alone.
Ricky Nelson from the new CD on Jasmine Records. All the hits, 57 to 62. Great version of Milk Cow Blues, which Elvis recorded when he was at Sun Records and was an old blues tune before that. Right, I mentioned something absolutely brand new, and this is Rock and Roll Roots and Shoots. Doesn't get more so than this. A CD from a band from California, and I know they're listening tonight because we had some email exchange a little bit earlier on. They're called Abbey Girl and the Real Deal. They've got a new album out called Calling Me Home. And they're a 5-piece from, well, they're at the moment in Orange County, California. Pure roots music band encompassing rock and roll, R&B, country. It's all in there. Rockabilly is... And Abby herself has apparently been singing, she tells me, since she was a child in Tennessee, and was recently nominated for Best Female Rockabilly Singer at the Ameripolitan Music Awards. And she's worked with some big people over the years, including the wonderful Wanda Jackson, who was a guest on this show just a few years back. Anyway, the new album is on a label called Little Red Hen. Very appropriate, really. This is Abbey Girl and the Real Deals, and a great track called I Love You. Abbey Girl and the Real Deals from California. Their new album on Little Red Hen Records called I Love You. And as and when COVID is out the way and live music returns to the UK and they can come over to the UK, I will be in the front of the queue. She's worked with some big names over the years, Wanda Jackson and all sorts of people. And great songs on here from the catalogues of people like Big Maybelle, Winona Carr, Mary Wells, and the aforementioned Etta James, who I played at the start tonight. Great stuff. And some originals of their own, including the title track, Calling Me Home, which I shall be playing in a couple of weeks' time. Abbey Girl and the Real Deals. Love it. OK, Richard, my little first section is up. Be back in 10 minutes or so with one. But do you want to do your couple of quiz questions?
Yeah.
Do my one.
Yeah, we got quite a few people who are getting this one right, so perhaps I made it too easy this week, but here we go. The Vintage Chart Show trivia music questions, 2 parts. Here we go. Send both parts along to 81333, starting your text with the word studio. Part 1. How many red balloons did Nena have in the early 80s vintage charts? And at number 2, part 2 of the question, what was the title of Noah and the Whales top 10 hit from the vintage chart of 2008? Get both answers, ping them on a text, let us know, and we'll give you a shout out if you get it right shortly. Jeff, what teaser have you got for us highlighting part 2 of Geoff Barker's Rock and Roll Roots and Shoots?
Well, it's just for you to think about at home. Don't text in or anything like that at all. But coming up next, it's Jules Holland's birthday today, the great Jules Holland. And I'm going to kick off with a track from an album he recorded with Tom Jones in 2004. Really great album. And the song in question that's coming up was originally recorded by Elvis on his first post-Army album. That may give you a clue. So that's Tom and Jules. Coming up next.
OK, we look forward to it. Love a bit of boogie-woogie piano playing from Jules Holland, and Geoff Barker will be here. It's 20 to 9, so let's welcome back Geoff Barker for Geoff Barker's Rock and Roll Roots and Shoots Part 2, and you gave us a little teaser, didn't you, before we had our break or two there, Geoff?
Sure did. The great boogie piano man, Jules Holland. It's his birthday today. He's 63. And I said I'd play a track from a great album he recorded with Tom Jones. They did it together in 2004. In fact, I did an interview with them at a studio in London at the same time together. They were great, like a great double act. But the track in question, originally recorded by Elvis on his first post-Army album. And it was... The album, apart from this one track, was Jules' Rhythm and Blues Orchestra and Tom, and it's highly recommended. But this one is stripped right back, not quite unplugged, because Jules is playing the piano, but the great voice of Sir Tom Jones and Jules on piano, and the song on that Elvis album called A Mess of Blues.
I just got your letter, baby. Too bad you can't come home. I swear I'm going crazy, sitting here all alone. Since you're gone, I got a mess of blues. I ain't slept a wink since Sunday. I can't eat a thing all day, and every day just Blue Monday since you went away. Since you're gone, I got a mess of blues. Oops, there goes a teardrop rolling down my face. If you cry when you're in love, sure ain't no disgrace. I gotta get myself together before I lose my mind. I gotta catch the next train going and leave these blues behind. Since you're gone, I got a mess of blues. Well, oops, there goes a teardrop rolling down my face. If you cry when you're in love, it sure ain't no disgrace. I gotta get myself together before I lose my mind. I gotta catch the next train going and leave these blues behind. Since you're gone, I got a mess of blues. Since you're gone, I got a mess of blues. Since you're gone, I got a mess of blues.
Great, what a partnership that was. Tom Jones on voice, Jules Holland on piano, and happy birthday, Jules, 63 today, from their 2004 album called simply Tom Jones and Jules Holland. That's a great track from Elvis's Back album from 1960. for my money, the best album Elvis ever did. You were just telling me, Richard, Sir Tom has a new album on the way.
Yes, he does have a brand new album, yeah, and it's going to be quite an interesting one. It's coming out in April time, and I don't know quite whether he's done this, as so many people have done, and recorded it in lockdown as such. But a new album coming out on the 23rd of April, and it's called Surrounded by Time, and the other headline around the album says Tom Jones talking reality television blues on his new album. So I don't quite know what's going to be on it, but Surrounded by Time, April time, is the time for the new Tom Jones record.
Well, he's still in great voice, so I look forward to that. Great stuff. Next one up, Jack Scott, a Canadian rock and roller, one of the great original rockers who really, really should have been a much, much bigger star than he ever was. He had quite a few hits in America and some in this country. You may remember a song called What in the World's Come Over You. He would have been 85 this week. He passed away just before Christmas 2019. He was a fairly regular visitor, but came to the country a few times. But I always loved Jack's voice and he used to write many of his own songs. I thought I'd play one from the very last album he recorded when he came from his home in the USA, where he was living at the time, not in Canada, and went to Finland to record with some young rockabilly and, sort of roots musicians in Finland. And they recorded a song, a really old country song. And this was originally recorded by a guy called Red Foley. He was one of the original country stars in 1949. And there were always rumours going around for many years that Elvis had recorded for this song for Sun Records, but nothing ever surfaced. But anyway, remembering Jack Scott's 85th birthday, here he is, and Tennessee Saturday Night.
Well, now listen while I tell you about a place I know down in Tennessee where the tall cane grow, hidden from the world in a bunch of pines, where the moon's a little bashful and it seldom shines. Civilized people live there all right, but they all go native on a Saturday night. Well, the music is a fiddle and a crack guitar. They get their kicks from an old fruit jar. They do the boogie to an old square dance, where the woods are full of couples looking for romance. They struggle and they chuckle till broad daylight. They all go native on a Saturday night. When they really get together, there's a lot of fun. They all know the other fella packs a gun. Everybody does his best to act just right, 'cause there's gonna be a funeral if you start a fight. Somebody takes a notion and knocks out those lights. Yes, they all go native on a Saturday night. Well, now you heard my story about a place I know down in Tennessee where the tall cane grows, hidden from the world in a bunch of pines, where the moon's a little bashful yet seldom shines. Civilized people live there all right, but they all go native on a Saturday night.
Song that goes right back to the sort of post-war roots, I guess you could say, of country music. Red Foley, 1949. That's the great Jack Scott. It would have been 85 this week, and Tennessee Saturday Night. And I'll play that for Byron and Tricia Wynn in Bridgewater. I know they're big, big Jack Scott fans. And that's from an album came out on Finnish record label called Blue Lights Records. And the album is called Way to Survive, backed up by some of the great musicians. It's a big rock and roll rockabilly scene in Finland. Has been for many, many years, remembering Jack Scott. OK, another new track, and this is the unmistakable voice of Sir Cliff Richard from his current album, brand new album, just out before Christmas, called The Air That I Breathe. And it's a collection of songs and duets marking his 60 years in the business. All sorts of guests on there. Mark Knopfler, Albert Hammond, the Bellamy Brothers, Bonnie Tyler. And I thought I'd play this song, which I only ever first came across when Dion and the Belmonts recorded it in 1958-59. But apparently I've done a bit of research on it. It went back before that. It went back to a Rodgers and Hart musical because they wrote it in 1937. Anyway, I'll play this and wish a big happy birthday for yesterday to Joni in Theberton. And it was a big birthday, but it's just a number, so don't worry about it. And I'm glad you had a good day. And so here's Sir Cliff and a great version of Where or When.
We stood and talked like this before, and we looked at each other in the same way then, but I can't remember where or when. The clothes you are wearing are the clothes you wore. And the smile you were smiling then, but I can't remember where or when. Some things that happen for the first time seem to be happening again. So it seems that we have met before, and we've laughed before, and loved before, but who knows where or when. Some things that happen for the first time seem to be happening again, again and again. So it seems that we have met before, and we've laughed before, and loved before, but who knows where or when.
Our song for lockdown, who knows where or when. For big Cliff fan, Joni and her birthday yesterday. Great stuff. It's a great album. Cliff's album is called The Air That I Breathe. It's out on East West, and good luck to him. And that song, that musical Babes in Arms, 1937, I said was a Rodgers and Hart song. So I'm getting all very cultural tonight. Okay, that's it for this week. Next week, I'll just give a little plug what I'll be doing. It's the anniversary of the day that Don McLean said, the day, not quite, but the week that the day the music died, when Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens and the Big Bopper were killed in that plane crash. So I'm going to have 3 songs from them, not ones I normally play, and then 3 others showing how their legacy went on, so where their music shooted off, as you might say. So that'll be next week.
All right. Okay,
Buddy
Geoff.
Holly, Ritchie Valens and Big Bopper fan.
Lovely. That would be absolutely marvellous. Number 79 in the biggest selling albums of 2020 for Cliff Richard and Music, The Air That I Breathe. So he's still got a few sales under his belt. Has Sir Cliff.
Has, certainly has.
So our trivia quiz questions. Let's see how you got along with this then, Geoff. How many red balloons did Nana have in the vintage charts of the early 80s?
99, and I've got the 12-inch single of that, which had a German version on the other side.
Neun
And when we
Sickle of
lived in-
balloons.
Well, I'm very impressed. A neighbour of ours, she spoke fluent German, and she came over, and I remember at the time she was singing it in German. I was very impressed.
And part 2, what was the title of Noah and the Whales' top 10 hit from 2008?
I shall kick myself when you tell me.
5 years' time. Numbers.
Yes.
We were doing numbers.
Yeah.
5 years' time. Well done to Chris in Babbacombe, Robert in Taunton. Who did we have an email from here? Elizabeth in Houston, you managed to get it right as well. And Steve in Dorset all got it right as well. Well done. We'll have another Vintage Chart Show trivia question in a week's time. Now, we were talking about Jules Holland, weren't we, performing with Tom Jones on that album from 2004. I must admit, I've seen Squeeze many times, both with and without Jules, because he sort of came and went and eventually left in the 1990s. And I remember sitting down with Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford after Jules had left for the second time. And I meant to ask them the question, who was the better keyboard player, Paul Carrack or Jules Holland? And I was mixed up and asked them, who is the better singer out of Jules Holland and Paul Carrack? And they sort of looked at me as if to say, well, there's no question it's Paul Carrack who can sing the ingredients of a tin of beans and sound absolutely wonderful. But, there were occasions when Jules did sing songs with Squeeze.
He did a few, particularly because his love is rock and roll, rhythm and blues and all that, domino sort of things. And he's done some of those on his TV show, so that's where he excels at that. But you're right, I mean, Paul Carrack's a fantastic singer from Ace onwards,
Yeah, and I think what was said was that that Glenn and Chris always said, Jules always loved being in the band, but Squeeze was never quite big enough for him, if you see what I mean, and couldn't indulge his love of music. But they did occasionally, Geoff, and I'm going to play one right now to take us towards the news at 9 o'clock. It was from the album which I think came out in 1989 or 1990. It was an album called Frank, and it contained some of Squeeze's traditional sort of songs. It has all sorts of genres on there, but definitely story songs. But they also, Geoff, allowed Jules Holland to have a bit of a go at tinkling the ivories and doing his thing before he left the band on a track called Dr. Jazz. Now, that sounds like a boogie-woogie track for Jules to sing, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
Yeah, and he sang it very well indeed. Shall we hear it? Here it is, Squeeze, Dr. Jazz. Geoff will be here next week, right, Geoff?
Indeed I will, with that, what I mentioned earlier, a bit of a Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Big Bopper and more. Thanks a lot, and stay safe, you at home particularly, and I'll see you next week.